and welcome back to the channel. My name is Cass and I'm the fire portion of Fire Nice Designs. And I'm a sucker. So I don't know if you've been here for even, a couple of weeks and you've seen our channel update. At the end of our channel update, I said that I wasn't making Emma a birthday dress. But then I got an email from our local children's museum that the weekend before her birthday, there was going to be a princess tea. Well, there's convenient timing there. So she and I are going to a princess tea. And if you're going to a princess tea, you need to be dressed appropriately. So she doesn't know it yet, but she has picked out a princess dress for me to make her. She thinks it's for her birthday. And it is, but it's for her to wear to the birthday tea. The pattern that she picked out is this one. She wants to be Rapunzel. I thought I would take you along on the process of making this pattern with me that I have never made before. It's the first time I'm opening this. And I thought it would be fun for us to then, at the end, go to the princess tea. I did email and ask if the grown-ups can dress up as princesses too, and I have not gotten a response, so I'm not sure, but I'm at least wearing something that I've made that's fancy. But yeah, so let's open the pattern and get started. I've already had a look over the instructions. They don't look terribly complicated. Oh, materials. So Emma went with me to pick out materials. I'm gonna adjust the camera so you can see. So we have this lace. I've got two of those that goes around the neck and the bodice bottom and the sleeves. So I've got two of those. I've got one pack of pink grosgrain ribbon because that's how you do the striping detail. And then for this trim around the edge of the skirt, I don't know how much detail it's picking up, but it's two separate trims. They had a purple braid and pink and purple flowers. I've got this and this. We're gonna make it work. I also have a purple zipper. Emma wanted a blue zipper. I let her pick out the blue zipper, but we're using the purple one in the dress because the dress is this purple and this pink, and that's the tool for the overlay. So, and this is all cotton except for the tool, obviously. So that's what I'm using because she's 3 and she's gonna get it dirty, especially since she's wearing it to the children's museum. So we're gonna wear something that is washable and dryable, and yeah, let's open her up and get started. I am done cutting out the pattern pieces and now I am moving on to, see what I'm doing? Tetrising the bodice pieces onto scrap purple that I have because I'm trying to use up as much of the scrap as possible before I cut into the new stuff that I have, because I have a bunch of like random offcuts and the bodice pieces are pretty small, so that's the plan, because then I can use the purple that I bought for the slip. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna record that because everyone else in my house is awake and you can probably hear licensed Christmas music in the background. So I will see you on the other side of Tetris. And we're back. I have all of the pieces cut out for the exterior of the bodice and the sleeves, and the lining of the bodice I cut out of the purple as well, and there's a slip that I have cut out 2 of the 3 pieces for the slip. The last piece for the slip I have, hang on, this is the fabric I have left. And I have to figure out how to piece that together in such a way that I get piece of, it's actually that piece that's on the fold out of this. So I'm gonna go figure that puzzle out. I did it. There she is in all of her pieced glory. This is obviously the right side, and this is the wrong side. You can see some of these are selvages, and the ones that are not selvages I just pinked, which may seem sus, but it works pretty well on the quilting fabric that I bought. So we're gonna test it out here. It's not perfect, it gets the job done. For reference, this is what I had left. And I asked for 3 yards, and then I got an end of bolt. So I'll check the receipt, but I'm pretty sure I got just over 3 yards of this, and it was literally everything they had in this color. So that's why I did that. That is where we are with that. Now I have the lining and the slip cut out. I am going to use those because the slip is supposed to have a ruffle, so I figure I have these organza ribbons and I should do something with it. So we're going to use those as the ruffles. If I have enough, I am going to do 2 tiers of ruffles because, let me see if I can show you. Hang on. Okay, so the pattern has you putting a ruffle here. I think there should be a ruffle down at the bottom. So like this is where it ends. I think there should be a ruffle down at the bottom. And the nice thing about those is 1, they're continuous, and 2, I don't have to hem them. They are ribbon, so they're finished on the ends. So that is what I'm hoping for. But I have to figure out how long I need this ruffle to be to see if I have enough. I have like a bunch more spools of that. I'm gonna go figure out how much I need of that. Put this in my scrap bin. And I will see you once I've sorted out that situation. I also think I'm going to sew all of the little pieces of this together and then mark a continuous line for the ruffle placement. Okay, so I assembled the bodice lining, and I'm going to have Emma try this on when she wakes up from her nap, because the instructions told me to just go ahead and start with the exterior and then assemble the lining in the same way and stitch it together. But that makes no sense, because why would you not assemble the lining first and check the fit? Once again, disappointed. You're supposed to help people learn how to sew and be the gateway in your family. So we're kind of going rogue with these instructions. So I have finished the lining, skirt lining, and the bodice lining, and I have stitched together the overlay. I've discovered that, so I knew when I bought it that there wasn't what was on the back of the envelope for the trim. There is enough of this. There is not enough of this. I am 26 inches short on the pink trim. But I have this. And I asked Emma, and she said that she's okay with it being on the back. I'm okay with it being on the back. I also, in my stash, found this that I can use for the fake lacing panel in the front. So what I am going to do, the reason I cut out the overlay is because I have all of this left. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the ruffle that it calls for in this. But I'm gonna make it a 10-inch strip as opposed to a 15-inch strip. And I'm gonna sew 2 tiers of this onto it because this is a 5-inch wide organza ribbon. This is just gonna give it a little bit more oomph. So I'm gonna gather the 18 feet onto the 12 feet or whatever it is, however many inches it is. And it's just gonna be a slight gather, but that's fine because then that gets gathered down onto the underskirt, and I'm going to stitch the ruffle on while it's all flat and then stitch it together because that's way easier. And then I will gather the top of the skirt to the bodice, to the back of the bodice, and I'll probably attach it to the bodice while it's flat and then just stitch up the back seam for the lining. And I haven't even cut out the exterior fabric because I had to piece together stuff for that one lining slip layer. So I just went for it and started working on the lining. It does fit. I did make her try it on. It does fit. So there's that. So that's what I'm gonna do. And then I also, now that this is done, I can start hand sewing this on. I'm going to start with the purple stuff and stitch that. I have a nice convenient stitch line there. So I'm just going to line the edge of the flowers up with the edge of the stitching, and then that leaves space for the flowers. So that is all there. And I can hand sew that mostly because I don't know how to machine sew this in a way that's not obvious. So that's all gonna get hand stitched. And yeah, I'm gonna work on this ruffle for a little bit now, but I have to go back to work tomorrow. It's almost 10 o'clock. I might cut out the pieces and stitch them together. We'll see. I'm also running out of top thread, so I'm gonna have to switch that over. But yeah, progress. So check out the system that I think I might have worked out for running these gathering threads. Now I just have to spool it all back on there. It's almost 11 o'clock. The ruffle has gathering stitches. The ruffles to add to the ruffle also have gathering stitches. For some reason these, even though they're 18 feet long, don't look as long as this, which is only 13 feet long. Maybe that's because of how wide it is. Maybe I measured wrong. Oh, wait. No. Yeah. This is 13 yards long, not 13 feet. I'm dumb. Well, I guess we're doing multiple tiers. It's fine. Yay. We're back. New day, new contemplation. So I have cut down my ruffle and I'm pinning the organza ribbon layer to the bottom, and it didn't gather down as much as I had hoped. It gathered itself while it was the tulle layer while I was running the gathering threads, so it gathered itself there, so I don't think I'm going to be able to run a layer on the top. So I'm contemplating doing both organza ribbons on the bottom just to add more fullness, and then evaluating the fluffiness from there. Yeah, Oh, by the way, I was wearing shorts yesterday. Today I'm wearing a sweater and fleece lined tights under my jeans with slippers, and I'm cold. And it snowed today. Again, I was wearing shorts and it was 70 yesterday. We've experienced all 4 seasons in a single day. Oh, and I thought there was a tornado when I woke up this morning because the thunderstorm was so loud. You're watching this the end of February probably, and it's the first week of January here in North Kakalaki. So I think I am going to attach the organza ribbons. That does mean that they're going to be inconsistent colors, but this isn't supposed to show. It means I'm going to get more floof, which is what I want, because gathering down 5 feet of this gives a sort of vague ruffle effect to this end and no ruffle effect to this end. Basically, that's what's happening. So I'm going to turn the camera off and go sit on the couch probably and ruffle some stuff. I will see you tomorrow. Hi, welcome back. It's January 10th. And I've just gotten the ruffle gathered and pinned. I'm gonna go stitch it down now. Oh my goodness, this took way longer than it should have. So I finished sewing the ruffle together, and then I put the gathering threads in the skirt lining. This is the slip. And then I pinned this to try to gauge length, because it says to do the hem, which I did. And then I pinned it to the bodice and had Emma try it on, and it's 5 inches too long. The bodice fits and hits where it's supposed to. The skirt is 5 inches, like dragging on the floor, 5 inches too long. So I am putting pin tucks in it, because I want this to fit her for a while. I have a feeling she's not going to get a whole lot broader. I think she's just going to go up. So I am putting pin tucks in this. I'm putting 5 1-inch pin tucks in this, and they're 1 inch apart. So this will be pin tucked together, and then there's 1 inch there, and this will be pin tucked together. And then there will be 1 inch here, and so I'm going to do that. And then on the outside one, I'm going to do 5 1-inch pin tucks that are 1.5 inches apart. I haven't figured out what I'm doing about hemming the tulle overlay yet. Right now, I'm just trying to get this together, because once the pin tucks are in, then I can figure out where I'm putting the ruffle. Anyway, pin tucks. Alright, pin tucks are all drawn in. As you can see, I went in and colored in every so often to make sure I'm pin tucking in the right spot. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin these closed, and then I am going to see where that puts the line for the ruffle to be attached based on its length. So that can be also marked while I am marking things. And then I think that's all we're going to get done tonight. Good morning. Today is January 15th, and not only are we hunkering down in preparation for snow, ice, rain, no one's really sure, but not only are we hunkering down for that for our 3-day weekend, but we are also hunkering down for waiting on COVID test results. Emma had to be tested because, 3-year-olds can't get vaccinated, and when your classmate goes home with a fever, I just preemptively got her tested. So we are going to be back at work on this Rapunzel dress. I almost called it an Ariel dress. Clearly my brain is addled. I am working on sewing pin tucks, and right now I have to pin them all, and I'm working from the bottom up, because if the pin tuck is pressed towards the bottom, if I'm sewing the one below it, it could get in the way, so I don't want that to happen. So we are going to work from the bottom up, sewing the pin tucks. Having the pin tucks in here is gonna help make this a garment with more longevity for my tiny bean. So here we go. Pin tucks are also in all the way down. And now I am pinning the ruffle on, pinning it on so the bottom faces up, so that once I stitch it down here and it flips down like so, it will be able to hang and hopefully give this some floof. Here we go. Hello? It is the same day, but I'm in a different shirt and I've showered because since you saw me last I ran 3 miles. So I'm in the process still of pinning down the ruffle. I'm not needing to gather it down at all, which is probably because it gathered itself as I was sewing, but I'm following the instructions. I'm going to keep pinning it down and then I'm going to stitch it down and show you what that looks like. And then we'll do up the back seam and gather it down and attach it to the bodice lining. Let's see what we have. Good morning. It is about 6:30 a.m. and as you can see behind me, I assembled the lining of the bodice and the slip thing with the ruffle. It's attached. It is very floofy. It's not as full in the front. I gathered the front panel to fit with the front of the bodice, and that's larger, but then the 2 back pieces were the same size as the front dress piece, just about, and they got gathered down to fit the back bodice panels, which are half the size of the bodice front. So the back is very, very gathered and very, very full. And I ended up not having to gather the ruffle at all because running it through the sewing machine gathered it enough. I actually had to ungather some of it from just where it had gathered it on the sewing machine. So I am gonna start cracking on now with the other thing I got done last night before we descended into cookie making madness. I marked the sleeve pieces with where a ribbon is supposed to go to mimic the slashed sleeve with the shift underneath, like that. And then I'm going to, oh, I also forgot, I need to cut these pieces out of the tool, so it's a good thing I have some of the ruffle left, because hopefully those pieces are big enough for me to cut the sleeve out of. And we're going to sew the ribbon down and then look at where else I need to attach trim before assembling the outside. I'm going to attach all the trim before I assemble anything, or assemble things and then attach trim as much as possible, because it's a lot easier to attach the trim where I can hide the stitching with a sewing machine or lay things flat. So that's what I am going to do now, and then I will check in with you later. Alright, sleeves are stitched down. I tried a couple of different methods to stitch the ribbons down. So on this one, I cut each length of ribbon and put pins in vertically and stitched from the top down. They came out a little wibbly and a little wrinkly. I did one side and then took the pins out, and then I pressed it, and then I did the other side and then I pressed it. These 4 I did with no pins, where I put a clip at the end and just held the ribbon down and stitched. And these seam straighter, and then these I put pins in horizontally. And honestly, if this wasn't being gathered down into a giant poof ball, I would hand sew the ribbons down. That's where we are with that. I'm gonna trim the ends here and run some gathering threads along the top and along the bottom. And then I'm gonna see about cutting some sleeve pieces because I forgot about them. Ha! Oops. And then procrastinate a little longer on the bodice because it means I have to actually cut out the pink fabric that's over there. Welcome back. I think the last thing that I said when I checked in with you was that I was procrastinating doing cutting out the pink fabric, and I was going to do everything in my power to not cut out the pink fabric. But then I looked again at the bodice instructions, and the bodice has a lining and a facing, and I'm confused as to why, and I don't really understand. And I realized that the pieces of the purple tool that I have to make the lower sleeve are not big enough, and the way that they have me constructing the sleeve is dumb. So I'm going to use the pink tool to make the lower sleeves. But then it's a wrinkled mess, so I have to iron it. So I was like, well, if I have to iron it, I might as well iron the pink fabric too, because the iron is already set to cotton. So I ironed the pink fabric, and long story short, so I have assembled the pieces for the skirt with French seams. I have done the hem, and I have done a pin tuck. You can see here, I've done a pin tuck, and I am marking the second pin tuck. I'm putting 2.5 inches between them, and then I am making a 2-inch pin tuck. So, and that, I did a 2-inch hem, so the 2-inch pin tuck ends up being 1 inch, and so they're the same width there. I measured up 2.5 inches, I measured up 2.5 inches, and then this is 2 inches, so the spacing's going to be different on this one, but it's fine, I don't care. This is just, I realized that I wasn't going to need to make this as short as I did the other one, because the hem is bigger, the hem is thicker, but also it's going to be held away from the outer, or the inner skirt by the massive ruffle. So I'm just going to do this last pin tuck, and then run a gathering stitch, 2 gathering stitches along the top. Part of why I was doing this is I realized this is all the pink thread that I have. I want to make sure that I have pink thread in the right color to use the pink fabric. I'm trying to get all of that done so that I can use what's left of the pink thread in places where it doesn't matter, because I really wanted the pink thread to match the pink ribbon and the hem and the pin tucks, because those are all going on the pink fabric and are going to be visible, and then I can use it to sew the lower sleeve, because the lower sleeve, I would like to have pink thread, but it doesn't have to have pink thread. And once I get that ironed and cut out, I'm gonna talk you through what I think about the instructions and what I'm gonna do differently. Cause yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go do this pin tuck and hopefully not get distracted by something else completely. Again. We're making progress. Progress is progress. It doesn't matter if it's progress in what I said I was going to do. I'm procrastinating doing parts of this project by doing other parts of this project. It's still this project. It's fine. It's totally fine. Still raining. Yay. I have gotten to the point where I was gonna talk to you about my issues with this particular pattern and the way that it is instructing me to do the sleeves. So I have, I'll just demonstrate with one, the upper sleeve, and that's got the ribbon on it, which is fine. It's got the gathering stitches, which are going to go in the armhole. It's got the gathering stitches to gather this down into, you know, puff. And then this is the lower sleeve. And you probably can barely see that. Yeah. So I'm supposed to sew, line up the notches, gather this down so that it fits into here, and then press this over with the seam allowance down into the sheer bit instead of flipping the seam allowance up into the puffy bit. Why would I leave the seam allowance in sheer fabric? Why would I do that? This doesn't make any sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip up the seam allowance, and then because this is going to be like the tulle isn't going to fray, but this fabric probably is, so I'm probably going to flip it over and fell it. Alternately, I could just cut it with pinking shears, but I don't think that's going to be as comfortable to wear, which is one of the things that I'm concerned about. But I think having it pressed up into the seam allowance makes more sense. Because the cuff is finished, you stitch lace onto the cuff, and I'm going to, it says to sew the underarm seam, and then hem this, and then attach the lace. That's not happening. I'm going to attach the top part to the bottom part, and then I'm going to attach the lace, and then I'm going to sew the side seam, because this needs something. I don't know if they're anticipating that you're using less sheer fabric, but on the pattern envelope, it's all of my pattern pieces. It's sheer, and you can see the seam all out. Like, yeah, you can see that. It looks like a ribbon, but it's not. That's the raw seam. That's not what we're doing. So I'm gonna get to work on the sleeves and show you what it looks like when I have 2 sleeves. By the by, while I was running gathering stitches, I went ahead and ran gathering stitches in the overskirt. So I think at this point everything that needs gathering stitches has them. And once I assemble the sleeves, all I have left is the bodice. And it should tell you something that I am procrastinating the bodice with sleeves. So I have gotten the sleeves done. I machine stitched under the seam allowance, and I'm thinking about stitching some more of the pink ribbon over the top of that, but the sleeve is at the point where I have to hand sew because the lace is and the tulle are being eaten by the machine, so that has to be hand stitched. So I went ahead and assembled the bodice, and now I'm putting eyelets in it. So I'm using this thing. So listen, I am not normally one to product endorse, but this thing is amazing. Watch this. Look at that. That is so much better. So much better than what I was doing before. And it's so much faster. I did look at the directions. It wants you to baste around the neckline and the armholes, and then attach the facing.
around the neckline to finish the neckline, which doesn't make any sense to me. Why wouldn't you just stitch around the neckline and then flip it right side down? I don't. We're doing it my way. And the facings are just not getting used. I'm officially at the point in the project where everything that I have to do is at a standstill until I've done some hand sewing. And I'm gonna go lay in bed and do some hand sewing. Maybe. Yeah, because that's where we are. I'll see you once some hand sewing is done. And we're back. I have finally finished hand sewing the trim. I think it looks nice. It's all long. It's very rough on the back. And the lace is sewn on the cuffs. And I also hand stitched some ribbon along the edge of the sleeves. So that's done. And now I'm gonna sew the sleeves together with a French seam and attach the skirt, the outer skirt, to the bodice. I'm gonna probably just hand gather the tool rather than run it through the machine. That just seems like it'll be easier. We'll see what happens, but yeah, that's where we are. And now I'm gonna get to work. I have to change out the thread in my sewing machine. Good morning. I'm making some tea, so you should hear the kettle in the background. I have put in both of the sleeves, and they have French seams in them. So the underarm seam shouldn't be too bothersome, and now I am trying to work out how to attach the overlay to the bodice. I'm gonna do something shocking and look at the instructions, which I have at this point mostly abandoned the instructions because I'm a snob. So yeah, I'm gonna look at the instructions and figure this out and get my tea, and maybe my brain needs caffeine to jumpstart it this morning. Well, this has very rapidly become something that resembles a dress. Sleeves are attached. I attached the lining at the neckline. This is where I deviated from the instructions the most. I just sewed the lining and the exterior right sides together around the neckline, and then flipped it right, like clipped the edges and flipped it right sides out and pressed it. And I'm gonna top stitch the lace on. I don't know why it had you do the facing when you could just do this. What I am doing is finishing the armholes as well, because I don't, yeah, you can see I hand stitched that down. I folded it under and hand stitched it down. This side is done. I'm working on the other side now. Then I have to hand sew the lace around the top and insert the zipper and do up the rest of the back seam. And then she's done. And then we can reveal to Emma that she is going to be wearing it to a princess tea party. So. The dress is wearable.
And it's standable.
It also stands up by itself, which is both amusing and terrifying. You can see I put in a regular zipper, and I did a lap zipper so it's not horribly visible, and it actually blends in really nicely on the skirt. On the top, not so much. I'm going to put a hook and eye up at the top to close it, and that and sewing lace around the neckline are the only things I have left to do. then she's done. Oh, she's tired. It's time to go to bed. And there she is. The only thing she's missing is a hook and eye back here, but my hooks and eyes have wandered where I do not know. I'm gonna attach a hook and eye, but then she's done. The overlay just barely grazes the floor, and the bottom of the hem is a little bit up off the floor. I'm really happy with the way she came out. Emma really likes her. The one thing I will say is these organza ribbons, I think it's just the purple one. The pink one I think is fine, but the purple one has started to come unraveled. I'm gonna take a lighter to that because I have been finding organza ribbon hairs literally everywhere. It's terrible, but I'm gonna do that and sew the hook and eye on, and then she's done, and our primary goal was achieved. It is super floofy. Emma loves dancing around in it. We are gonna wear it to the Princess Tea. I'll have Zach include some footage or some pictures from the Princess Tea here. Remember, I am going by myself, so what I get there will be limited. Overall, I would give this pattern I don't know, a 3 out of 5. If you are confident in your sewing and you know what you're doing and you're willing to shirk the rules and say no to when their instructions are dumb, then you'll be just fine. If you don't know what you're doing and you're relying on the instructions to get you there, this ain't the one, which is unfortunate. But, you know, that's where we are. If you enjoyed watching me assemble this floofy, cupcakey mess, please give this video a like. Subscribe if you want to see more sewing shenanigans. And in the comments this week, leave down below, who would you like to have tea with? What Disney character? Don't limit yourself to princesses. They just are the ones who are most likely to show up at tea. Which Disney character would you most like to have tea with? My answer is obviously Belle. And yeah, that's it. I will see you in 2 weeks. Have a good fortnight.